Yes, ma'am.
Is this better?
Perfect, perfect. Yes, yes,
Lovely,
yes. We
lovely.
can see you.
Hands.
We can see you now. So, a little bit
Great.
about our guest today. Let me introduce. Of course, she needs no introduction. For the evening is Neerja Malik, a woman with a golden heart. She is the change maker who has embarked on a journey to inspire us all. Neerja did not merely survive, she turned the obstacles around her to create life rich with meaning, both for herself and the countless lives she has touched in the last 19 years via her, of course, the year I will confirm with her today, via her
23
cancer
years.
support.
23 years.
Oh, wow.
23.
See, that I wanted to check it out. It's now because I read that long time back. Cancer support group in Chennai. She's having her own group there. She is a stage 4 breast cancer conqueror, believes that cancer is, this is what I love about her, is only a word, nothing less and nothing more. Oh, wow, that's so lovely. She has not only been awarded several accolades, she is also an inspirational speaker, she is a counselor, and today we will all know how she is inspiring others. So, Neerja, welcome to our platform, Caring and Versatile Moms and Daughters, where we have a lot of moms going to join in now, slowly, slowly. Some have already joined. So, Neerja, what have you been doing this whole week? I prefer calling you Neerja. I hope you don't mind.
Not at
Oh,
all.
thank
In
you,
fact,
thank you.
I can give you a choice of two more names because I'm also called Bubby at home, and I used to be
Oh,
called
wow.
Nikki at school and college. So take your pick, darling. What's in a name?
Yes, there's nothing in a name. So, Neerja, actually, today we want to know from you. I am actually very curious to know how do you find the strength not only to keep yourself move on, but inspiring so many people around you? How do you do that? So that's my first, uh, the question which I will put to you today's evening.
Sorry, it was buffering. I didn't hear your question because I think there
Okay,
was some
I'll
internet.
repeat. I'll repeat that. I
Thank
hope
you.
I'm audible to you right now.
Absolutely audible. Hi, Vibha. Fun buddy. All right. Carry on, Rachna.
Hello. Yeah, okay. So, Neerja, moving ahead, I am really curious to know how do you find the strength not only to carry on and keep going, but inspire so many similar stricken lives around you? Okay,
Can you
there's
hear me?
some connection trouble.
There seems to be. Okay. So
Connectivity
I will
problem.
keep talking. It's like this, Rachna. You do something, and depending on the intent or the motive with which it is done, you get a thousandfold back. So when I do something, it's not that I'm doing anything that I don't enjoy, that I don't love. It is that it moves me because I feel that whatever I've gone through in life, I have learned so much. And people who need it, I had a very, very supportive family, friends, spiritual background. But there's so many people who are going through cancer and they have no one to turn to. So I just felt from deep within myself that this is what I need to do. I need to help others. And the wonderful thing is that when I'm helping others, and Rachna, I see that I am making a difference. I see that they're benefiting, that the strength is coming to them, that if they came to me scared, shattered, terrified, I'm able to encourage them, make them fearless, and go ahead for their treatment. So when I see this change in them, it makes me smile, my heart, my soul, and it makes me feel so good. So it's a two-way process. मैं कुछ करती हूँ और जो भी मैं करती हूँ मुझे 1000-fold वापस वो प्यार आ जाता है. So I can just say that it is such a wonderful exchange of love, affection, feeling, emotion, dil se.
Great, great, superb, superb. So we all know that woman is a full circle, and within her, we woman has the power to create, to nurture, as well as to transform. So we had seen you doing that quite a long time, but I want to take you to a little bit backside, behind. Go back in time when you were probably going to school or college student. So at that time, so I'm moving back in time. So with a remote control. So probably the Nirja, running and going to school. So we would all love to know during your schooling and the colleging time, what sort of a person you were and what was your dreams at that time when you were a school child or a college going. We know Nirja right now. Who is she? A woman, a motivator, an inspirational speaker. So we all know you, but I want to know when you were a small child, a small school going child, probably, what were your dreams and did you really achieve it?
Okay, so let's begin like this. You were talking about school and you were talking about college, but I'm going to go back even further. And I'm going to go to that space of time in Srinagar when my grandparents' house, called Swastika, was just behind the Presentation Convent in Rajbagh, where I had started my schooling. So now I was a fat, chubby little girl. Actually, there's not much difference because between what I looked like then and what I look like now. But the school that I was going to was across the road from our gate, and there was a green hedge. So now I had two choices. I could either walk out onto the road, go towards the Band, where all the shikaras were waiting to take us to the, the road across the river, or guess what my gardener did? He made a hole in the hedge so that when the bell rang, I could run across the road and quickly gusso into that green hedge that was large enough to perhaps make me go through, or a smaller puppy also, and I would get into school. So now I need to tell you something, Rachna, because this is very important to the kind of personality I am and what happened along the way. So when I was in that nursery class, suddenly the teachers, and I was always larger boned, so I looked bigger than I actually was. So suddenly all the teachers figured out that, okay, here is someone who is gregarious, who is friendly, who is loving, who is caring, and they started giving me the responsibility of looking after the newbies, the new bachas in class. So I would kind of take them under my wings and be very motherly and protective and shielding and make them feel safe. And it was the mothers who would perhaps, feel scared about leaving their kids. And the kid would be crying copious tears. Mama, mujhe chhod ke mat jao types. And I would promptly say, कोई बात नहीं आंटी जी, ये थोड़ा रोएगा या रोएगी, हाँ पर ठीक हो जाएगी, मैं हूं ना. So that is how my life started.
Lovely. From that time only, you were so caring, and that nature developed more and more. So that's amazing to listen. A little more about your dreams in the childhood days. What were your dreams which you had?
Okay, let me tell you that as I was growing up, my dream, and Amasi, who was only 5 years older, our dream was to pretend that we were sleeping during, after lunch. And we would put pillows under our blankets and clamber out of the window through the branch of a tree and go into places that we were told not to go to. We were told, don't eat cut kacha apple, don't eat the kacha walnuts, don't eat. By the way, all this was in my garden. My grandfather had
Wow.
green thumbs. We had strawberries, we had cherries, which we would hang, around our ears, make, lovely necklaces. We were told. And we had a mulberry tree, shatush ka ped near the gate, which meant that we had to climb the gate, get onto the wall, get onto the tree, and then pluck the shatush. And in those days, I have to be truthful, our dreams were nothing more than getting out there while everyone thought that we were sleeping and do what, where does sin come from? Sin comes from the fact that you're told not to do something. But the maza that you have in doing what you've been told not to do is exceedingly much more than the guilt that you feel. So we had a blast till one day we were caught because we forgot the time, and normally we would hear them, getting the milk, and we were supposed to be in bed so that we'd wake up, and we ran. What we forgot to do was to wipe our lips, which were red with the mulberry juice and water whacking both of us got. Because after that, Rachana, I have to tell you, they actually nailed the window so that we couldn't go out in the afternoon. Dreams. Someone asked me this question a few sessions back. And I turned to them and I said, I've never dreamt. I mean, apart from climbing trees and oh yes, I was a runner in school and winning races. I was the games captain. I've rode. I've done roller skating, ice skating, horse riding. I've won everything. So my dreams were not actually something that I hankered after. It was something that I did. So there was no question of, okay, I dream of this or I dream of that. I just went ahead and did it.
Superb, superb. Yeah, because right now,
All
actually, Neerja, what happened is that I am seeing children now,
yes,
the youngsters right now, they
yes,
have so much of dreams. They just keep on
yes.
telling. And even I too wonder, when I was a small kid at the age of 6 or the age of 7, what was I doing? Probably running
Huh.
behind mother and going to some shop and crying, I want that, I want that. I never remember that dreaming something if I had anything, but I wanted to know it from you. So probably we have the same feelings like that. We nowadays the generation is moving into a different angle. You just see a small
Yes,
kid, their minds are
yes,
ignited, the brains are
yes,
ignited. They have, I want to be a singer, I want to do rock songs and this and that. They are all so prepared about the future. So that is what I was thinking, that I too never had any dreams, most probably going back. Yes, yes, yes.
I had one dream. I had one dream. I wanted to be a pilot. But for that, you need to, have very good marks. And I used to be very fond of mathematics till one of the teachers, for some reason, I was a very naughty child. So I think that math teacher of mine couldn't contain me, couldn't control me, couldn't curb me. And after that, I started hating maths. So my dream, if you call it that, of wanting to become a pilot, instead of flying up in the air, just came crashing down. That was one dream I did have, which didn't come true.
No, I remember, like we have lot of dreams. I too had some dreams, but every day, few days, it would change. There was nothing fixed. If I would see some pilot, oh, I want to be a pilot. If I would see a very good teacher, I want to be a teacher. So everyone would become my role model, and every day some new visions of life I had. So that was what we feel. But according to the lifestyle which you went through, you were a runner, and those trends could be seen gradually in you, which came up. Though that was in the smallest, as you told, your nursery experience, taking care, and that nurturing effect probably developed right now, what you're doing with your organization. taking care of the whole universe right now who are in trouble. So it is lovely to listen that how the dreams we had cherished, probably unknowingly, that was just just a love which we wanted to show, but it went on to neutralize, and you are affecting and trying to curb all those in the minds of the people right now. That's really amazing. So I just
But
want to quote a small
stop.
poem which I'm reminded by listening. Yes, 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 ma'am, please.
No, it's so strange. You are taking me back in time. There was one more dream. And one more dream I had, I think I was in the ninth standard. And this dream was that I wanted to run away from Delhi, from home, because I wanted to join Al Qazi's School of Drama, which was in Bombay. And then I realized that no, this is not happening because when I turned 10 and I told my parents that I wanted a horse that I used to ride in Kunur in Wellington, you know, I said, I know what I want for my birthday. I want Bug. Bug was the name of the horse. I want Bugs to be with me. I want Bugs as a present. And my mother and father said, oh, that's fantastic. Telling us what you want. You have a choice. So I said, what? They said, either we keep Bugs or we keep you. So so I decided, it occurred to me that this is what my parents had said when I was 10. And now, if I run away from home, they might say, listen, there's no need to come back. You stay where you are. So I changed my dream and my plan. But, Rachna, this is something fantastic, which strangely enough, in all my 67 years or whatever, I haven't thought of. I had that dream, which was passionate at that point. And you talk about manifestations. So this is the first time I'm sharing with anyone that my dream of having something to do with drama actually manifested. And with Alec Padamsi, I was Alec Padamsi's stage manager for a play called Don Quixote, Man of La Mancha. So it was beautiful. Whatever I hadn't done right from, that tender age till I was in college, I was doing my B.Ed. And that is when I stage managed this play. And I knew everyone's parts. So if anyone was absent, I was just fit into that role and managing the stage, doing everything. It was a very wholesome experience. And the fact, now it occurs to me that that dream that I had actually manifested. And I thank you for getting it to my notice, Rachna. Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you.
Yes, we all know the starting of our dreams that we cherish. It all starts at our childhood days. Knowingly or unknowingly, we have been doing things in our childhood days which are right now reflecting in our actions, in our ways, in our, our whatever we are doing right now, it reflects. So,
Correct.
Primla ji is also here. I know, please don't go away, whoever is joined. I would take some questions and probably we would ask you to join also and ask some questions if you would love. But before we finish with our session, so I would just love to read out the poem for Neerjaji, which I felt I just, love this poem. It's just associated with you. She has a soul of a storm and the freedom of the wind. She has eyes like the stars with moonshine within. With the strength of the sea and the lightning in her toes, she dances on the breeze of change wherever she goes. Hotter than a volcano, deeper than the oceans, a whirling, swirling myriad of feelings and emotions. She is the daughter of the earth, primarily
Wow.
inspired. She is water, she is wood, she is earth, she is the fire, she is Nirja Malik. So that's how I describe you with the
Oh
famous
my
lines. So I just
God.
want to move,
Oh my.
moving ahead with those poems. I just want to know from you. that your book is right now, I Inspired, is inspiring many souls. But I want to know what had inspired you to write that book. So could you
Oh,
please tell us that story behind that?
of course. On one condition that this lovely poem, who's written it? Can you tell me that?
Yeah, I'll tell you at the end of the session. I want to know about your book first. What
Oh,
inspired you? Your book is
but
inspiring the full generation, but who or what had inspired you to write this lovely book of inspiration?
life, that book. And basically, there are 10 treasures. So you have the first treasure, which is love. The second happens to be fun and laughter. Third is God. Fourth is faith and belief, which if you have, fifth is miracles. And let me tell you, death is also a treasure because it teaches you the next treasure, which is acceptance. And when you accept everything, there is deep gratitude. And with gratitude, you get abundance. And with abundance, you can live in the now. So these are the treasures. But people ask me, like you are inspiring people. What inspired you? Now, first and foremost, Rachna, I realized that God said, okay, here's this person who is very helpful, who is full of love, full of laughter, full of fun, and now let me give her experiences. So it started with broken bones, it started with falling off cycles, it started with getting up, dusting my
Yes, I think there is some network issues with Nirja ji. Uh,
so they
yeah,
hadn't.
we missed out little bit, Nirja, little bit we missed out because of the network probably.
Okay, so let me tell you that I was a very naughty child, very helpful from the beginning. So God said, let me take her through certain experiences. And those experiences are what made me broken bones, getting up from a fall, rising like the phoenix, moving on as if nothing had happened, enjoying it, taking the challenges of life. That is what I did. So then he made me do my graduation in social work. Now I started my master's in social work, but I realized that as ours was the second batch, they hadn't segregated the courses and I felt bored. So I promptly started my B.Ed. So I worked in schools as a social worker. I worked in schools as a fourth standard class teacher. I worked in orphanages voluntarily. I've read and supported the visually impaired. So all that just came very naturally to me. And then God said, now let me give her more experiences in the university of life. So after marriage, I had innumerable miscarriages. Then I had a stillborn. Then I had twins who were 2 months and 5 days premature. My blood pressure was 270 by 140. I was hospitalized. All kinds of crazy classic things happened. But in spite of all this, though I had all these problems, God also gave me one thing that I'm very grateful for, and that is the capacity to bounce back. So, whatever I've gone through, cancer twice, septicemia thrice, more surgeries, tackled one day at a time. And I've managed to conquer, not survive. So when people ask me, what inspired you? I found that how many people, though I have counseled millions of people, because apart from the person who's going through cancer in India, we have at least 5 or 10 relatives, family members, friends who come with the patient. So you're not only addressing the needs of the patient, you're also simultaneously a support system for the family of the patients. And I found that if I wrote a book, it would go beyond just my patients. It would go beyond my talks in different schools, colleges, companies, and I'm talking to you also. So the purpose of the book is that anyone who picks it up, I have gone through so much that they can identify with some aspect. Is it a miscarriage? I've gone there. Is it a stillborn? Had it. Is it many problems? Yes. Cancer? Twice. Septicemia? 3 times. Broken bones? Absolutely. And they can learn how, how my strength is God, how my strength is my family, my parents, my sister, my in laws, my kids now, and my husband. And so that is how it culminated in offering the book to the world.
Superb. Superb. Thanks for telling us what had inspired, because the book is really, really superb. Now, moving back, as you have already covered the point which I wanted to ask a little bit about your organization and how did it become possible. So we all want to know the story about your cancer support group and what are you exactly doing there. We all want to know, and especially the moms of the group here, and not only moms, everyone would love to know what exactly in the group you do and how did you start it, and
All
who
right.
are the ones who can join you or probably lay their helping hand. Everything we want to know it from you about your
Because
cancer support group.
I'm going to tell you everything, but keep one thing in mind, that the only thing permanent about life is change. We evolve. We move from, those phases of life and we progress. So now here I am. It's Friday the 13th, 1998. And at the Apollo Cancer Specialty Hospital in Chennai, I've been diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, my parents decided that, listen, in Chennai, you just have your husband and you have twins who are only 7. So, first of all, when I heard the news, I wept for 3 days, Rachna. I wept and I wept, not because I was scared of death, but you know that usual kissa where the mother feels that, Are, if I'm gone, dead and gone, what's going to happen to my children? How are they going to cope? How will they manage? So those were the reasons that I had for my tears. And then there is always enlightenment. The enlightenment was 3 days later that did God come down and say, get ready to die? Did God tell me that ab ulti ginti shuru kar, start counting backwards? No, it was a human being. Agreed. Doc is God, God is Doc. But at that precise moment, I wiped my tears. I love that, the name of that shampoo, No More Tears. I wiped my tears and I decided, determined decision, drid nischay, that I am going to live for my twins. And God is great. That was 23 years back. My twins, who were 7 then, they're going to turn 31 next month. And whatever has happened along the way, I've just said, I'm going to live for my twins. And voila, here I am.
Superb, superb. That's what we all be strong to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and be brave enough to ask for it. So it's really superb to see the aspirations and the enlightenment which you're spreading everywhere. So as Primla ji is already here and she has been commenting continuously, I can see. Uh, Thank you so much, Primla ji. She has sent a request to come to the live video, also join us. So we will see,
Wonderful.
we will take towards the end, Primla ji. Right now, I want to a little more of Neerja to know a little more about her. So we are
Okay.
unfolding all the pages, turning back and moving ahead little bit, and we are just trying to converse and know about her, about the motivation and the inspiration. Motivation is something which I feel which comes from within, and inspiration is what we can do it for others if they want to see it, the enlightenment which we share it with others. So that is
Yes.
what you have been doing. You have been
Yes.
spreading those smiles around, and spreading the smiles is a very, very different quality. So how do you manage? We know that what you have been going through. So how do you manage to culminate so many smiles? And here we are, without little things, we just start cribbing about it. Today internet is not there, and start cribbing, start pointing. How do you manage to smile all the time? Because whenever I had a word with you, you were that lovely, few times always with that smile. How do you do that? So we would all love to know the real feelings behind those smile coming. Is it totally natural, which comes out whenever you speak with anyone? That radiance of smile, that beauty which you just radiate when you speak. So how is it possible? Could you please share those tips that we all would love to know from you?
Okay, so I must tell you that some years back, 2017, very dear friends of mine had invited us to Amritsar for their 60th wedding anniversary. And anyone who gets to know that I'm going to a particular city, they promptly call me to give a talk in their school. So somehow or the other, this institute called me and they said, please come and give us a talk to the children. And for some reason, I misunderstood it between 15 and 18. Now, I do just ask one question. What is the target audience, the age of it, so that I can, so in my mind, see, everything is in my head. I don't prepare for a talk per se, but in my mind, I just say, okay, this is the age group. This is how I should conduct myself. This is what I become. I become their age. So suddenly I go there and guess what I found, Rachna? I found that instead of 15 to 18, the kids were 5 to 8. So now I, so guess what I did? I immediately changed my voice and I said, every morning your mama irons your clothes and you have a bath and you brush your teeth. Now, you know what you should do when you wear your, you should smile. So that is how I talk. And then I realized that this is what I've been talking to even school going and college going kids. And what do I tell them? I said, you enter a room, enter it wearing a smile. And Rachna, I'm going to let you into a secret. When I go to give a talk, even before I enter the room, I send bubbles, lots of bubbles all over the auditorium. And what do the bubbles have? They have hearts. So that by the time the bubbles come down and cascade onto the audience and the hearts burst, they all love me before I even enter, wearing a smile. So that is the beauty, and that is what happens. That if you smile, the world smiles with you. If you cry alone. I can't hear you. Rachna, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh, yes. Now can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you.
It is so true. Yeah, I think there was some this thing. So it is really very true, Neja, as you said, that what we do, we are spreading that. If we are crying and we can see the whole world crying with us, everyone is sad looking. If we are smiling, we always see the smiles around. So I feel that if I can see smiles, that means we are trying to do that. And you have been doing a lot of things inspiring the others. Now, all the time my speech goes on, it will always end with that, inspiring others. You have been doing that. Continuously, it always ends with that. Because I really had few acquaintances, but when I searched and I read about you, the kind of motivation you are doing around, the kind of inspirational talks you are doing around, it's really, really positive vibrations which you are spreading. So when we talk about the younger generation right now, Nirja, the teenagers, coming back to the teenagers right now, they have so many tensions. There is not one single tension. They have ample of tension. You just ask them, they have their boyfriends have ditched them, so they're crying, they're sad, they want to end of their life. That's the end of everything. The mother has told, the parents told, you can't marry. So there are so many tensions which this younger generation are going. They are not able to decide which career to select, whether to take arts, whether to take science. Their tensions are all the time so much they want to just run away from the world and set in a secluse. So what sort of guidance would you love to give to some, those children? They have everything in their life, but still they are so confused with life that they are always depressed, they are always sad, they always need some inspiration. The kind of life you had seen,
Okay,
the
so
challenges which you faced in. So with that, what would be your guidance for these teenagers, youngsters who are depressed with small, small challenge which come in their life? They just
okay,
want to give up life very easily. So what would you like to give to them?
yes, yes, certainly. So the first thing is that the parents and the teachers are very much a part of growing mind, this young growing soul. And like a plant, it needs to be nurtured. It needs to be loved. It needs to be cared for. And it certainly doesn't need to hear, come on, when I was your age, I was like this. You know, when you come to my age, you'll understand what it is like. No. The first thing that I would like to tell the mothers and fathers is that please remember that this child, especially nowadays in the days of the pandemic, they are not able to meet their friends. Okay, it's all very well, being on, all the social media, on the cell phone, on talking. But we as we are a gregarious, human beings are gregarious. They need to connect with each other. They need to feel the warmth from each other. That is what really matters. So it is a two-sided thing. You cannot blame the parents, not at all. And you cannot blame the children, not at all. So from a place where I am at, what would I tell a child? I would tell the child First of all, you are not the only one. Huh? There are a lot of people, a lot of children who are going through exactly what you are. So the first point is there is a lot of consolation in numbers. So when you explain to the child that they bacha, they're traumatized, they're upset, they're hassled, they're worried. First of all, tell them that it is absolutely normal. Tell them that it is absolutely natural. And I always tell them that, beta, when I was your age, I went through the same thing. And I need to tell you that in those days, we dealt with it ourselves. We dealt with it while we were playing gulli danda. We dealt with it when we were climbing trees. We took out all our frustrations in physical exercise. We would play pittu. We would chase each other. We would jump into the water. There was so much of physical activity, which, by the way, disappeared into nothingness. Whereas now, what do? We have a point, and when we are worried, that point understandably moves in the mind of a child continuously like a kira, like a worm going round and round. We cannot forget that. What is Paramahansa Ramakrishna? Is it a monkey? It's a mad monkey. And it's been bitten by a scorpion. And it's been bitten not only by an ordinary scorpion, but a mad scorpion. So my heart bleeds and goes out to them. And no way will they listen to you if you become a teacher and you say, now listen to me. This is what you should do. That is what I did. Will you do the same? You'll be better off. No. I just put myself into their place and I tell them, when I was your age, I went through exactly these feelings. During adolescence, your hormones are jumping. You can feel destruction. Your parent just needs to glare at you and you can feel that you're melting into fear. So children who are going through this have to be nurtured and taken care of very tenderly, Rachna. And it's the same thing. And you know what I tell the children? I said, Bacha, you feel that you are not understood, that your parents don't understand you. And what do? You get into your room, you bang the door shut, you lock it, and you don't let anyone in. Well, guess what? Your parents are outside. And the tragedy is that they are trying to understand. The tragedy is that they love you, but they cannot express themselves. And your tragedy is that you do not know that your parents love you. Because in their dant, in whatever way they're trying to treat you, they have only one purpose in mind: to save you, look after you, and to ensure that you stay well. So I would tell them that, please, bachas, help is available. Your teachers, every child should have one person, a teacher or a friend or an older brother or sister or one parent, someone that they can go lovingly to when they are in trouble, express themselves, open themselves and say, this is what I'm going through, help. I think that is what we have to show them, the awareness that help is available. And mental health has become such a big issue. And life is important. So these are the few things that I can mention in this short period of time, Rachna.
Sorry. I just keep myself mute and I forget to unmute it. Always technology.
Don't
Technology is again a new thing. Learning all the time. Yeah, it's very nicely you have explained. It's really important and eye opener for us as parents also to remember that there is this bond which you have already written in your book. Your book too amplifies it very nicely about the 10 treasures of life, which you just now mentioned about it. So those 10 treasures of life, we all as parents, as well as the teenagers, we should try to inculcate in us so that the relation or the bond between the parent and the child does not become that far off. The bond starts breaking, that you are not able to again rejoin it, because life has lot of challenges, as Nirja has already experienced it, and she has herself said that she is a conqueror. She is never going to take life as a hurdle or a life when the tough was going very tougher. She was at that time a rock solid, a rather an iron woman who had faced it. So we need that love. That is very, very important. So, Nirja, coming back to the word love, I would love to ask from you a little bit naughty questions. That what was your love life all about? So we would love to know from you little bit about your love life and as a teenager and love. So love from your teenage
So
point of view.
you make me want to pick up a guitar and sing, "Oh, I love to love, but my baby, he loves to dance." It's like this. Rachna, as I was growing up, there was a lot of love that came my way. And that is what taught me the meaning of love. And when I say love, I'm not only talking about family, I'm not only talking about grandparents, I'm not only talking about siblings, I'm also talking about the love that a human being can have for animals. So we always had dogs around. We always grew up with that feeling, that bonding with dogs. We went to a place where there were horses. I used to ride horses. And, these are the things. Nature. My parents, every time we got transferred, and my dad was in the Navy, we never traveled by train or plane. Our luggage would be sent, and we would drive to that place. So, what were we exposed to? We were exposed to greenery, nature, hills, valleys, dales, water. And my sister and I, and two dogs, we would be put into the car, regardless of whether we were sleeping at 4 in the morning. And the six of us would take off into the blue wilds yonder. So I feel, and Rachana, this is something that I have noticed. I feel that the good old vacations, the good old holidays, the good old going to your grandparents, your cousins, every summer we were either in Kunur, where all the cousins collected, or we were in Srinagar, again, where all the cousins from my mother's side collected, or we were in Shimla, where the cousins from my father's side collected. So we grew up with this feeling that our cousins from either side are literally as close to us as our own sibling. So when you grow up together, you make those bonds. So it was a nuclear family. I'm not telling you that we lived in a joint family, but the love that flowed from all of us, of course, was beyond just my mother, my father, my sister, and I. Because our parents taught us and they lived it. They didn't say, you must meet your relatives. No, we just met them. And we took it for granted that this love flowed. We just took it upon ourselves. And of course, when I was growing up, Rachna, I have to admit that I was a very trim, slim, I had a hot bod. And yes, I had the eyes, uh, to appreciate beauty. So when you appreciate, it's not only appreciating beauty of nature, or it's also appreciating what God has made. And so you go through these natural phases. Well, yes, I love to look at a good looking guy. And I remember, and this is just one stray incident, where I was in the ninth standard, and we had just started socials in Delhi. So I was in Mater Dei Convent, and we had started socials between Columbus School and Mater Dei Convent. So girl, boys, and of course, all the nuns and the priests were always around to see that no hanky panky is being done. And so in these parties, slowly then our parents said, all right, you may go out to this person's house. And yes, if they're boys and girls, yes. And so I became very excited, new clothes and, looking titch and all that. And guess what? This fellow I thought was the most handsome looking hunk actually came up to me. My knees trembled, my heart sank, all those things happened. And my so happy. And he told me, you know, there are a lot of mosquitoes that seem to be landing on your hair as if they're planes at an airport. Rachna, how can I tell you how shattered and disappointed I was? That was the inkling that made me realize that if girls are shy, so are the guys. We're going through the same feelings and we cannot express them. So, yes, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. These are experiences that make you smile.
Yeah, I think Neja, yeah, a little bit. There was some technical glitch in between.
No
Ending
problem.
part, we couldn't hear the last part. So anyway, we could understand that yes, it was lovely. Then I just want to ask you, moving ahead with the same question and the same intention, coming to a little grimmer side. I didn't want to make the discussion more grim. I wanted it to be more interesting, but still, I just want to know the mental condition which you have been going and how the dreams which you fulfilled later on, how did it become possible? Your condition, your state of mind, we know when we are suffering from something, it's our inner feelings. And we as women especially, I don't know, I might be little wrong in here, but I know as woman, as a mother, as a sister, we always try to see others' feelings first rather than our feelings. So, what was that feeling going on your mind, and how did you come out of it and become a conqueror, which you call yourself to be? So, just a little bit about those mental thing. How did you make it possible?
Yes.
Because we
So,
always give up as women. We feel that that's the end of life and start preparing, packing up our bags, that it's the end of a session, we are going away. And we really give up our life. So we do it in that way. So how did you manage your mental situation at that time?
okay. So, you started about inspiring. And see what makes us. Our parents make us, society makes us, our friends make us, our feelings make us. So when people ask me this question, I always tell them MFSG. And they say MFSG. You remember, Rachna, when we were in school, if we had to learn some points, I always remembered one initial of one point. So I would put those initials together and not bother to remember the sentence, but that one initial of one key word. Okay, like SDPA would be study, diagnosis, plan of action. Okay, so MFSG. What is M? stands for mother. What did my mother teach? Nurtured us. And she also said a couple of things. She said, remember, whatever happens, happens for the best. Remember, look at the best in everyone. Remember, we are all one, love one another. Now, apart from M, the next thing is F. So if I've said mother, automatically it becomes father. Now, M also is the initial of my husband and many friends. Along with mother, with father, you have family and you have friends, you have a lot of things. What did my father do? I ran to him when I was diagnosed and I said, Papa, I'm going to fight cancer. And you know, he was in the Indian Navy, he was in armed forces, and he won a mention in dispatch in the 1971 war. And this gentleman told me, he said, Bacha, why are you using the word fight? Fight is aggressive. Fight is negative. And I felt like a goldfish with my mouth open. What is he telling me? He's a warrior. He's a captain of a ship. And he's been out at war. He's a soldier. What is he telling me? And he smilingly said, why don't you use the word face? And Rachana, that has been so deeply embedded, imprinted, embossed in my heart and my soul that I spread it with and to everyone. So if you hear anyone saying, face cancer, don't fight it. Those were the words of my father spoken to me 23 years back. Now, we jumped from an earlier question when you were asking me how did I start the support group? How did it come about? What made me do it? When I was in Bombay, I went there because my mother and father said, listen, we'll send one person to Chennai to look after your twins. Your entire support group is in Bombay. Your mother, father, sister, in-laws, sisters-in-laws, they all rallied around. So that is what happened. I would go to Bombay for my surgery, go to Bombay for my individual chemotherapies, and also be in Bombay for my long, drawn-out radiation. So this is the system. Now, after my surgery, someone came to visit me. And this person was sent to me by my doctor. So I was in bed. I'd just come home from, my surgery. By the way, from when I got discharged from the from the hospital, my sister and brother-in-law took me straight to see the movie Titanic in Regal Cinema, straight from the hospital.
Great. That is great. That is great.
Now,
Different mindset and all that is better.
I saw 50 movies and not at home. Because if the television was on, I would get hassled. There's too much of sound. But I needed to see a movie and I would go out to the theater and I would ring up the person. Like, for instance, I remember wanting to why? I said, Bhaiya ji, tomorrow is my chemotherapy. I must see this movie tonight. And that is how, he said, how will I recognize you? I said, I will come to the manager's room. I will remove my wig. I will show you my takla. And I will tell you that I am Nirja Malik. So these are the things that I would do. And even now, you know what I tell children when they are getting hassled and they're tense? I say, do something to take your mind off what you're going through. Focus on something else. And I focus on the Sudoku, or I focus on a meditation, a guided meditation that I just put on, play, and just chill. And by the time I'm done with a 10-minute meditation or a 15-minute Sudoku, depending on how hard it is, my perception, my mental, what should I say, my mental temperament is completely changed. It's moved from the negative to the positive. The focus has changed. So my perception changes, and you are ready to face anything once again. So, do you understand what I'm saying? That it is in our hands as to whether to be positive or negative. And I tell everyone, we have a choice. Either मैं इधर जाऊं या उधर जाऊं. But guess what? If I take the positive, it is better and more helpful for me.
Some network issues are still coming.
Them very clearly, you know what? God and I have a deal. They said, what? Yes. I tell God, buddy, you've given me these problems. Now it's your problem to give me a solution. I'm free. I can't sit here and chat with Rachna as if she's a long lost friend and laugh with you, communicate with you, heart to heart, dil se. My vibrations jumping out of this cell phone and reaching you wherever you are. You're in Bombay. I'm in Chennai. But we're connected. How can I do that if I'm thinking, oh my God, I've gone through so much. Oh my God, what next? When will it happen? How do I face it? What am I going to do? Array. Live in the moment and enjoy it. That is what I do, and that is what I spread to everyone that I meet. Such is life.
Super. Lovely, lovely. So I was just thinking about that famous lines from Edgar's poem. When the things go wrong, as they sometimes will, and when the road you are trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When the care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't quit. So that is the famous lines from Edgar's poem. I just was listening to you and was remembering him, that how to quote him, because this same lines, the same feelings, that we should never give up. We can face, we can rest, it's normal, it's very natural to feel, to cry. It's okay when we are sad. It's not that we should never cry. No, नहीं रोना नहीं है, बस चुपचाप बैठे रहना है. गलत है वो. It's a feeling, human feeling. Do it. So that's what you have been doing, and it's wonderful. We had a lovely session. I think I didn't see the time also. It's very nice talking to you. But I just want to move ahead with one more question. What impact does all the counseling sessions which you conduct has on you? I just want to know that, because you have been counseling a lot. Does it really change you as a person?
Well, so what happens is that people come to me sometimes when they've been diagnosed and they just don't want to meet me. They are forced to meet me either because of a doctor or because of a staff or because of the parents, mainly the parents who've been told by someone, take this patient to Nirja. So when they come to me, they have their arms crossed and, just leave me alone. I just want to curl up and die. That is the look. And then I start talking. And suddenly, from a space of leave me alone, their expressions change, their body changes, they bend, they want to hear me out. And by the time I finished, they want to join me. Very low. He's very low. Can you please go and help him? So I said, sure. So I went to the hospital and I found this gentleman slumped on the bed and his wife was crying into her dupatta. It was a Muslim family. And I just went in and I started talking. And within 15, 20 minutes, he was sitting like. And
Yes, now I can.
Now you can. And what do you think she did? She was running around, instead of crying into her dupatta, she was running around trying to make me tea, coffee, biscuits. Now, Rachna, this was noticed by the doctors. This was noticed by the nurses. This was noticed by the hospital staff. So they promptly took my number. And from December of the year that I was diagnosed, 1998, I started counseling. And I used to be practically living in the hospital day or night. Anytime I was required, I would be there. Now, guess what helped me? My gift of the gap, my skills of a social worker, casework, group work, community work, all that, all these skills came to the fore. And it just flowed. And I started telling them, I want to start a support group, I want to start a support group. Finally, on the 8th of March, 2004, the Apollo Cancer Support Group was founded by me. And I had 20 women who had all gone through cancer. So they were my group. But then what happened is, after a week or so, they dropped out. They didn't want to come to the hospital. They said, when we see this, we get shattered. This is where we were diagnosed. This is where. So finally, the numbers decreased. But I carried on. And a lot of women, a lot of men, I told them first, I said, you have to be a cancer conqueror to join. Not enough. You can just be humane. You can just be loving, caring, and wanting to help. So finally, my support group happened with people coming and going. Earlier, it was only cancer conquerors. And then gradually, whoever would come could come and help me. And I started a very, very, what should I say? There were notes that were being made. People knew if I was not there, someone else was there, they could just look up the pages. I had set up an entire system. And that system carried on till 2015, October, by which time I had already written my book. It had been published. There were patients from my residence. So I started moving around, going from city to city, talking about my book, spreading the good work, and counseling carries on to date from all over the world. Now, with the internet and the world becoming so small, I've been talked to with people, have interviewed me from New York, from Lahore, from all over the world. And I've addressed people in Saudi Arabia, in Assam, Banks Pan India. everything, like I'm talking to you right now.
Superb, superb, amazing. This is what I wanted everyone to know about Neerja. The way she is spreading the positive vibrations around, just like a drop of water, which is we throw it in a pond, the ripples which it spreads. So it's Neerja is spreading all the ripples around, and these ripples are the ripples of positivity. We know that a strong woman don't play the victim. They don't make themselves look pitiful, and they don't point fingers. They stand and they deal it. And that is what Neerja has been doing. So we always know her as a strong woman. So Neerja, it was really, really an enriching session. And those who was with us, I think Primla was one who was there till the end, from the beginning till the end. She is really the one who made this
Yes,
possible today, which we
thank
are
you.
today. It was because of
Thank
Primla
you.
ji, and
Yes.
I'm really happy to have her as my friend. I call her as my friend, though she always wants that she should be called as auntie, but she's really an amazing soul too. So thank you so much, Primla ji,
Thank
for making this happen with Neerja today as we are here together, knowing about her and the positivity. So, Neerja, moving towards the end of my session, just a small question,
you.
because there are
Yeah.
many people who are undergoing the cancer treatment right now. So, how could they reach out to you, or what are the ways in which, if they would love to, any mothers or any parents, if they want to reach out to you for motivation or maybe some guidance? I would not say motivation, some guidance or some tips if they feel comfortable to talk to you. So, how could they reach out to you?
Rachna, you have my telephone number. Please feel free to give it to whoever needs me. I will be there 24/7. Take it. I would love to be there for anyone and everyone. And someone who talks. See, I tell my patients I am available 24/7. Raat ko, when you're awake
Yes,
and these thoughts
I
are tormenting you, your family is asleep, you don't want to disturb them, call me up. I'll talk to you for 20 minutes, for 2 hours, for 2 minutes. I'll sort it out in your mind. You can go back to sleep. I can go back to sleep. You'll have a good day. And at least you know who to turn to. When I was invited by the US Department of State for the International Visitors Leadership Program for a 21-day, and everyone, I learned a new word in those days, 2008, October, breast cancer month. It was on breast cancer. I was the only one, by the way, who'd gone through breast cancer twice. The others were doctors, they were women who were running voluntary support systems for cancer patients, prevention, cure, etc. And I asked someone, I said, okay, so you talk about a patient navigator, you talk about a liaison officer, you talk about a social worker, and all these things. What about after hours? And Rachana, you know what they told me? Oh, that's 1800. And I said, well, guess what? I am 1800 also, because I have told people that I'm available 24/7 and I will talk to them after hours, during hours, before hours. I'm there for them. That makes a big difference that someone knows you're there.
perfect, perfect, super, very nice. Thanks for sharing for all. Primla ji is telling, thanks for motivating all age groups, sharing your personal experience. Yes, very true. Sharing the personal experience and getting connected. Now, just to conclude with my last question, what advice would you like to give? Because I got before the live session, I got two, three inboxes that some of the ladies who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, and they had to face the problems, the body shaming, because they are young, and with that breast cancer, So the part of the body was not there. So this gave them that there is no point being alive. So what advice, with that note, I would love to end today's discussion, that Nirja, what advice, since you had yourself gone through it twice and you had conquered it, so how would you advise these youngsters who are really facing that complication about their body right now? They're not able to cope up after that, after treatment, after the treatment. So your, what would you advise them?
Okay. So let me tell you that in my early days of counseling, there was one 82-year-old woman who came from Oman. And she had a pacemaker and she had to get her left breast removed. She had to get a mastectomy. And I went to, her son said, please come and counsel her. So I went the previous night and she was having the loose motions. You know, she was so scared. And she said, will you come tomorrow morning? I have my surgery at 7. Will you come at 6? And I said, yes. And I went to her. And you know what her foremost thought was? She said, I'm losing my breast and I will be considered a shaitan. And she used that word, shaitan. So, it doesn't matter what age you are, the trauma that you have losing a part of your body is there regardless. B, the young ones also feel. I came across a lady who was very young. She had a 4-year-old son and she had a 6-month baby. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And you know, after the diagnosis, she refused to touch her babies. She refused to touch her husband. And her only thing was her parents, because she felt also that if she touches her husband or her children, they will catch cancer. So there is a big stigma also. So I had to work upon her quite a bit to make her realize that no, it's not like a flu or a cold that you can pass it on. It is your body making these within yourself, and only you are suffering. You cannot infect someone else. So, Rachna, there are a million myriad, aspects to this. And I can just tell people one thing, that listen, what is most important? You're talking about body shaming. It's not only about losing a breast. What about hair? People with long, long hair feel completely shattered that my, what should I say, my ideas, my showing my feminine side, long hair, my breasts, how will people feel? So one has to work at different levels. It's like the peeling of an onion. You start from the outside and you start going in and you talk. You talk in such a way that you say that yes. And I tell them, I said, you know what happened to me? For 21 days after my first chemo, I kept pulling my hair out. Nothing happened. And I said, wow, these doctors don't know what it is. They haven't gone through chemotherapy. They're just talking rubbish. But the 21st day after my chemotherapy, when I went in for a bath to fly to Bombay, my hair came out in my hands. Now, there are two ways of looking at it. You can be shattered, you can moan, you can groan, and you can say, oh my God, why did I have to go through this? Why me? Do you know what I did, Rachna? After my bath, I went to my balcony and I pulled my hair out, whatever would come out in tufts. And you remember that flower you say, he loves me not, he loves me. I took my hair, well, I didn't say he loves me not, but wohi gesture. And I watched it fly in the hawa. merging with the leaves and the trees outside my balcony. And instead of feeling sad, I felt that I am becoming lighter. And my next thought was, ये मेरी अपनी खेत की मूली है. These are literally the vegetation of my own crop. So I also say, here today, gone tomorrow, back day after. You get it? So it changes the thinking of the person. And this is what I offer. You've lost a breast, you have your life. I said, जब एक fruit, an apple or a nashpati is spoiled, you take a knife, you just scoop out the spoiled bit and you chuck it. The apple is good to go, the fruit is good to go. Consider your breast, you're so lucky. First thing I tell people is you're so lucky to get breast cancer because it's not touching the rest of your body. So you scoop out that lump, chuck it away, and rejuvenate, recoup, recover, rest. And guess what? You have different options depending on what you want. You have ready-made boobs, which you can utilize there. Silicone, artificial. Or you have those made out of foam. Or you have it made out of kapda. And it is very easy that once you start using them, you become accustomed to it. You get used to it. And you feel normal once again. I had a friend of mine, she had her left breast removed. Guess what she did? She never got a spare boob. She used to put her dupatta on that side. And she went through life. So you can make your own choices. Earlier, I used to wear a wig. And then I would feel so hot, I discarded it. Then I started tying a dupatta. That became terrible. And I said, wow, kya freedom hai? And I started moving around without anything. So you progress as you evolve in life. And you can, bit by bit, overcome everything that comes your way. My belief, intense faith, is in God. And Rachana, I need to tell you that my 3 mantras, God is great, this too shall pass, and laughter is the best medicine. This covers everything. Everything.
Superb, superb, superb. That was amazing. And I think the youngsters have understood, those who are here and those who will listen it afterwards also will really understand that we need to accept that we are alive and we can inspire and motivate others. So why to think about those little changes which are coming here and there? Change is the law of life, as Nija told us, and we all know that, and we need to accept the changes which comes around in our way, whatever it is. So on that note, Nirja, thank you so much for motivating everyone. And is there any question? Let me look into the audience. Do you have any questions for Nirja? Because already we are here for quite a long time. If you want to ask any questions, you can just put the question before we end the session with Nirja. So 1.5 hours we were live with Nirja, but I didn't realize how the time flew off. I was just enjoying each and every moment. And I remembered some beautiful lines. As usual, I didn't get time to prepare anything for it. Yes, mug has Nirja on it. Okay, Primla is telling the mug is having, there is Nirja is there in that mug. I didn't notice that. Yeah, there is, oh wow, yes, Primla, thank you for noticing. Lovely eyes you have, wow. Good, 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 superb. Mug has Nirja on it.
It started, Rachana, I must tell you, it started something, an NGO in Chennai started calling itself Chennai, pink. Chennai turns pink. And then this friend of mine, Anand Kumar, who started it, suddenly he said Coimbatore turns pink, Delhi turns pink, everything. So now the name is changed to India turns pink. But this was in the good old days when it was still Chennai turns pink. See? Chennai turns pink. I told him, I said, you know something? You are going to say world turns pink, universe turns pink. So now this Chennai turns pink has covered all of India and it is now called India turns pink. And of course, I am, as Primla knows very well, an ambassador of Pinkathon and all the Shiro runs that happen in Chennai. Shiro means all of us people who've managed to get through and overcome cancer, not necessarily only women. The men also join us, and we have these Shiro walks, which are an integral part of Pinkathon, which started with Milan Soman, of which Primla will be able to tell you lots about if you don't know it already. So God is great. We have all these resources around us to help us, to hold our hands, to move on. Just remember, Chalti ka naam gaadi.
Zindagi chalti ka naam hai. That is so true. We all know that life is square with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many failure turns about when he might have won if he is stuck in out. Don't give up. Though the pace seems slow, you might succeed with another blow. So this is also that success is always there. It's not necessary. It might be knocking at our door and we cannot realize. As Nirja gave us the inspiration, it is so true. Thank you so much for the enriching session. Yes, it was lovely talking to you, Nirja, and the lovely motivational advices which you gave us, and some tips sharing from your life, sharing a part of you with us on our platform. Thank you. We are really honored to listen from you, all what you have been doing. And thank you, Primla ji, for being there with us. And thank you for the lovely audience. Hoping to
And
get connected very soon once again.
I need to thank you, Rachna, and I need to thank Primla for connecting us. She is such a
Yes.
wonderful person. Regardless of, she calls herself Auntie 72. She's so young at heart. I would say that she's 7 years old, not 72
Yes,
or
true.
plus,
I
plus.
do believe that.
Exactly.
I
So
do
thanks to
believe.
her for connecting us and lots of love and my blessings to everyone listening in and who will listen in. And keep up the good work, Rachna. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are really honored to have you. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.